Hello everyone, welcome. Minasama irashaimase. Hello and welcome to Japan-Alaska Association's Kotatsu series. The Japan-Alaska Association's mission is to serve as an umbrella organization for Japan-Alaska affiliations, to promote friendship between our two nations, and to create opportunities to share, preserve, and celebrate Japanese traditions with people who are interested in Japanese culture. Today, I thank you all for your interest and participation. We appreciate you joining us in our efforts to strengthen the Japanese community of Alaska through personal and cultural connections via the Kotatsu series of community discussions. The Kotatsu series is brought to you in partnership with the University of Alaska Montgomery-Dixon Center for Japanese Language and Culture under the direction of the esteemed Dr. Hiroko Harada. So, for those who are wondering what exactly does kotatsu mean, the kotatsu is a modern version of a traditional cooking hearth, or irori. It's found in most Japanese households in the form of a small wooden table with a radiating heat source beneath. Often being the only heat source in a home, it's also a gathering place for families. The Japan-Alaska Association has embarked upon this project, called the Kotatsu series, to hold community discussions that bring the special warmth of this tradition to draw together not only those whom are of Japanese heritage, but also for members of our community who have an appreciation for Japanese culture. These events serve as an opportunity to create unity within the Japanese community in Anchorage, to identify the unique aspects of Alaska's Japanese community, and to document, share, and preserve history, legacy, experiences, and personal stories. We are very pleased to announce that through the Alaska Humanity Forum Leadership Anchorage 21 program, an emerging leaders team has chosen to become involved and assist us in the expansion of the scope of the Kotatsu series. Today, we are honored to have the presence of Leadership Anchorage members Marissa Palmer, Sean Bernard, Reth Dewar, Jared Anderson, Sarah Haley, and Diego Perez. We will collaborate with JAA board and advisors to establish the Kotatsu series as a template model for other groups to use to unify their ethnic communities and share culture. Welcome to the Kotatsu series. So today, I have a very special guest with me, Commander George TOLBERT. George is a senior naval science instructor, SNSI, of the Cougar Company at Service High School, operating the Naval Junior ROTC program. George enlisted in the U.S. Army out of high school and was assigned to the 2nd Ranger Battalion, Airborne, in the late 70s and completed Ranger School in 1979. After the Rangers, he went to college and was a member of the Colorado National Guard and received his bachelor's degree in 1986. He was accepted to Officer Candidate School for the U.S. Coast Guard and commissioned as an ensign in 1988. His Coast Guard career endeavors ranged from commercial vessel safety to investigation and intelligence work. Personal professional highlights: obtaining his master's degree, working at the Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, in Maryland, and an assignment at NORAD, U.S. North American Air Defense Command in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Other professional assignments included duty in New York City, New York, Anchorage, Alaska, Morgan City, Louisiana, Washington, D.C., and Seattle, Washington. George retired from the U.S. Coast Guard in 2008 and began working as a senior naval science instructor at Service High School in August of 2009. George states, "I thoroughly enjoy the position as a junior ROTC instructor. I can plant the seeds that the next generation of citizens can become successful at life and face the multitude of challenges that lay before them. I am committed in developing future leaders, but most importantly, I teach the cadets the basic life skills that are required in personal and professional lives. Vital lessons like learning to show up on time, being properly dressed, being prepared to learn, and to complete an assignment. These are all vital to future success. And I certainly do agree. Welcome to the Kotatsu series, George.
Thank you.
So I met George through my affiliation with the Japanese Alaska Association. And recently he shared an array of photographs with me. Many of these are playing in the background right now. I'd like to begin the interview by talking about your early life, George.
Okay.
You were born in
Tokyo, Japan.
Tokyo, Japan, on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo,
Cinco de Mayo.
1958.
Okay.
So May 5th has much importance in the Japanese.
Kotatsu, that's the
Yes.
boys' day at the time.
Yes.
And that's, I guess my mother said something about there was a separate girls' day, but now it became Children's Day, so
Children's
I
Day,
don't know.
yes.
It's Golden Week now, so
Yes.
who knows?
So you had an American military father
Correct.
in the U.S. Army, and he married a Japanese woman.
Correct.
Yes. So in your early life, you were born in Tokyo, and there are photos that we are showing here, and you can see George with his cute curly hair taking part in different activities typical of any Japanese home at that time period. But at some point, then your family transitioned and you came to America.
That's
How
right.
old were you when you came to America?
Well, we came, I must have been, gosh, my mom and I right off the boat in San Francisco. And at that time, I believe it was 1961. And I may have been 3 years old. Exactly when we arrived, I'm not sure, but 3 years old plus or minus.
Yes.
And we were at Fort Ord, California. And so I have some ghostly images that I recall some things at that time. After that, my father got orders to Germany.
I see.
Now, the Berlin Wall had just gone up, so tensions were high, and they were not allowing dependents to come until they were sure that there wouldn't be any hostilities. So my mom and I, we went back to Japan. And then somewhere about 19...
What ages were those?
I would say I may have been now 4 years old.
Yes.
You know,
And how long did you stay in Japan this time?
probably, it was a short time. It was probably less than a year.
Yes.
And
Did you start school? Or?
it was a preschool that I
Yes.
remember.
Yes.
I remember the lining up. I remember taking my little bento box and
Yes.
having it. It was steel at the time. I still have that. I
Yes.
should have brought that up. And it's all divided up inside, and then we would, and then after school, after the preschool, we'd all line up again and sing another song, and parents
Yes.
would pick us up and go home.
Yes.
So
At this stage in your life, were you completely bilingual?
no, I probably didn't know any English at that time.
Seriously? Oh my
And
goodness.
so, I'm speaking Japanese as well as a 4-year-old can speak it.
Yes, indeed.
And then Dad said it was, okay, you're coming. So we went to Germany, all right?
Did you live on a base in
We
Germany?
lived on a base. It was
Yes.
Augsburg, Germany. And I just remember at the time, me not, here I was still 4 years old and still
Mhm.
not able to speak any, or very, very, very limited English. But my mother pretty much pushed me away from, well, she wanted to learn English. Because she knew that she's married to an American, she's going to live in America, so she has to learn English. So that's all she ever worked with me on.
So, as a matter of survival?
Yes, so, and she took English classes and such things, and I even got some books, and she had beautiful penmanship. Yeah, still have those things, I should have brought those too. But
Yes.
anyway, I remember the struggles that I had in the kindergarten, and
Do you have any funny stories that you could share with us concerning that?
I wouldn't say funny stories. It's just that I just wasn't getting it because I couldn't speak any English, and was not progressing, shall we say. And my
Yes.
mother always kept wanting to tell me, we got to speak English. We got to speak English. So as time went on, I began to lose the Japanese language.
Yes.
because in the household it was slowly. Mother wanted to speak nothing but English, and I began to lose it. Okay, and then after that we got orders from Germany to come to Colorado Springs to
Yes.
Fort Carson where my father went.
Yes.
And at that time, that's when I guess academically everything caught up with me because I was still struggling with English. And back then they still set you back.
Oh,
So
yes.
I had to repeat first grade.
Oh my
So-
goodness, quite the challenge.
Yes, well, I didn't know anything different. My mom just got the report card, and she went over and woke up my dad. Is this saying what I think it's saying? And so we had to go talk to the teachers and all that.
So I do notice you still can speak an interesting smattering of Japanese.
Oh, a little
Yes,
bit.
and
Yeah,
a bit,
well, I
yes.
can understand more than when I could speak, because it's my mother that would always say things to me, and she in Japanese, especially when she was disturbed that I did something. You know?
What would she say?
Well,
That you can repeat here.
Matakumo bakatari desu. Yeah.
Wakarimasu.
Okay. So yeah, she would. That was when she spoke Japanese. I know that I had probably done something. I had made the wrong decision.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So you come to America. You're in Colorado Springs. Was your father at NORAD or Peterson
He was at
Field?
Fort Carson, Colorado.
Fort Carson, yes,
the
the
Army
Army
base
base.
there. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
We lived on the Army base for a little bit. Then he got orders to go to Vietnam.
So you stayed in Colorado Springs?
We stayed in Colorado
Yes,
Springs while we went
yes.
to Vietnam.
Yes, indeed. So fast forward, you're going to junior high, high school.
Right.
Did you ever encounter any prejudice because of your mixed ethnic heritage?
And the answer is yes. It was pretty bad. I remember, wow, there were days when I just dreaded getting out of school. Waking up and having to go to the bus stop and get teased all the time. The Asian community was small, and my mother had Japanese friends in the area.
Yes.
Started in 6th grade or 7th grade, and then I remember the series with David Carradine, the Kung Fu came out.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, yes.
And then then that was it. I was called the Chinaman,
Oh,
and
I see.
I tell you what, these kids were pretty brutal back then.
At least they didn't call you grasshopper.
No, at least not. But as years went by, that slowly disintegrated, and even in the future, when I met a couple at a reunion or two, they would, hey, they were like, I'm sorry about all that. And it's like, oh, really? Well, okay.
Well, it's nice.
I
that
get
they-
that's nice,
yeah,
'cause
nice that they realize
yeah,
that.
but I guess that just comes with age.
Yes.
You know.
Do you also think that maybe having personally faced that experience, that maybe it has created empathy within you towards other people who
Absolutely.
come to America?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I guess it was a different type of it wasn't, well, now when they talk about immigration, it's more a fear as opposed to
Yes.
what I was experiencing in junior high, which was just more of, let's just pick on this kid for a little while.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sure it toughened you up, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my mom was, she was pretty brutal about discipline and such things. So.
But I'm sure you came to value all that she taught you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I'd like to know, how did you make the decision to join the military?
I knew that I was going to join the military probably only back in maybe even late grade school, or my father had done it, and he was an airborne infantryman in Korea, and saw a lot of combat, and that's how they met, because he would come back from Japan to Korea, and that's how my mom and dad met. And he also went to Vietnam. So the Vietnam War, to my dad's delight, because he knew that if he was going to keep up, I was probably going to go.
Be drafted?
The draft had ended by
Yes,
that time.
yes.
But I knew that, I was young and, just work and keep up for a couple more years. Maybe I'll get a chance to get over there, and that's the kind of mentality I had.
Yes.
But I knew I was going to join. I wanted to do the adventurous stuff.
Yes.
I
So you
wanted to-
became a paratrooper.
Yeah, so
jumping out of airplanes.
I said, what's available? I said, I want to, I want to be special forces. I want to be a ranger. And my father was not too pleased with that decision because he'd done it and he survived, but a lot of his friends did not. And he just realized, well, you ought to go in and get a skill.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I first enlisted as a helicopter mechanic, and I will tell you, I hated it.
Yes. Before we go forward, I asked you a question recently. When you jump out of an airplane, what do you yell? Geronimo?
No, you don't yell nothing. We count to 4.
You count.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000.
Yes.
And you better feel that tug on 4,000 or you're going to be pulling a reserve.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for educating
Okay,
us.
no, we never yell. No,
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a myth that you do.
Oh, no.
Currahee, Geronimo.
Geronimo.
Yes. So the next decision you made was helicopter mechanic.
I would have, and I dreaded that decision. I hated it. I still wanted to get into the fight, into the action, and then I was really blessed when the Ranger recruiting team came to the base, and I was right there.
Yes.
And I said, "Okay, what do you need? I'm volunteering. I'm going." And then, of course, when I told my father, he wasn't too happy about it, but I said, I have to do this.
Yes.
And I was much happier, much prouder, had a lot more pride in such things, though I knew life was about to get very difficult and be a lot more challenging
Yes.
as a ranger as opposed to a helicopter
Yes.
mechanic.
So explain some of the action that you were involved in,
Well,
if it's not classified.
well, we would deploy. There was no war at the time, okay? So, but we would just deploy to different areas, and reconnaissance or such things like that. And at the time, there were only 2 Ranger battalions, and now there were 3, and actually a 4th one, I think now. But they have been in constant engagement, I think, since the first Gulf War. They're always doing something. So but for me, it was a peacetime. It was a lot of training. It was a lot of deploying to do some more training. We never went anywhere that was what we called a hostile zone. But there were trips to places that we would do something and then we would come home.
Yes.
And I know that any time you get into any kind of a special operations unit, it's very tough on marriages. I'm glad it wasn't married because the phone would ring, come in,
Yes.
and then 2 weeks later you come home.
Indeed.
So-
Indeed. So in time, you were married and had 2 sons, Rayburn and Caleb.
Ken, Rayburn, and Caleb.
Yes, yes. So I realized that you had an interesting career that also included naval intelligence.
Yeah.
Can you explain about this part of your life? of
Well,
your
that
career?
started in the Coast Guard.
Yes.
And since I had a lot of had a little bit of intelligence background from being in the Rangers, and then I had broken away and I left, was in the Colorado National Guard, got my degree, then went into the Coast Guard, and I was first involved in commercial vessel safety, but I still always had a strong interest in the operational and strategic intelligence side. So that was going to be my 3rd tour, and I was able to get with the Office of Naval Intelligence. And that was a very interesting job, just being able to monitor world events and they would finally come out on the news when it was done, but we would monitor and help the successful completion of the mission that was going on, and it was kind of hush-hush, but and it was all behind closed doors and everything, and there were a lot of cipher locks, but I was on the East Coast, so there were a lot of steel doors I had access through, and went into places like the NSA and the CIA and DIA and such things. We're just doing various work with them at the time. So it was interesting work.
Very good. Thank you for your service. And then after your retirement, you chose to get involved with junior ROTC training. And I read a bit online and watched some videos, and among the values that we mentioned earlier, life skills, showing up on time, being properly dressed, have a clear head, be ready to do the job, you also taught them about pride in their nation, patriotism, and how to give back to the community. And a story, there was a video and a story online via ADN, which I read and watched last night, and I was very touched by this particular story. So if you'll give me a moment, I'd like to read this. Service High School Navy Junior ROTC cadet Seaman Apprentice Taylor Engstrom intervened during a situation which may have certainly prevented a death of one of his own classmates. This young cadet received a call from somebody who could have possibly committed suicide and had the wherewithal to keep this young person on the phone, keep listening, trying to offer solutions, but at the same time was calling in an emergency team to come and rescue this young person so that they would not make this disastrous decision. I looked online, and Representative Charisse Millett wrote this: "A real hero among us. Courage, valor, personal responsibility. These are just some of the values of the Navy ROTC program. It instills these responsibilities and aspects in students at Service High School. Seaman Apprentice Taylor Engstrom demonstrated all those values and so much more when he helped save the life of a fellow student." This happened last September 2015.
Correct.
When Taylor received a call from a friend who was contemplating suicide. Demonstrating extreme maturity and great compassion under dire circumstances that would challenge many adults, Taylor kept his friend on the phone until emergency services could arrive to help at his friend's house. His friend's life was saved, and for this good deed, Taylor was awarded the Service Award Medal during a special ceremony at Service High School. He was granted the highest decoration that can be given to an ROTC student. So she congratulated Taylor not just for receiving an award, but for saving a life. When I watched the video that was online, you were interviewed, and you mentioned that this struck your heart in a particularly deep way because you had lost a son a year prior to suicide.
It was actually 2012.
12, oh, pardon me, 4 years prior. Yes.
The, just to expand on that story a little bit, he got the call, and I wasn't there, but he got my other instructor there, and was trying to write down what was happening without letting her know.
Yes.
Handing in, and so the instructor got up to the whiteboard saying, "Tell her this, tell her that." Okay, while we were trying to get into the school system to find out where she lived,
I see.
getting a hold of the 911 people, saying, "We have this going on, you need to get over there." So, and for a half hour he kept, and this is what's so great. The day before we had bystander intervention, suicide recognition prevention class.
Yes.
The day before.
Yes.
And he had used the skills of that he had learned the day before, the one full day class,
Yes.
to keep this lady on the line and this young girl on the line, and to keep her from doing something that had just been permanent.
Yes.
And when I had heard about this and I got all the information, and I contacted the area manager and I said, "Listen, we've never given away a meritorious service award here, and this is it. We're going to do it." And the captain said, "Absolutely, we're going to do it." But it was only a ribbon.
Yes.
And I said, "We got to do more than a ribbon."
Yes.
So I got a hold of a company that makes custom medals, and I paid out in my own pocket, and I had this medal made, and it was beautiful. I know it was on the video and all that,
Yes.
and we kept it very secret for 6 months. And I got so involved only because of my son. And it, the girl survived, had to go into a little bit of treatment, and was back at school. Okay. With my son, he had just been suffering from sadness for years, and one day decided to end the sadness. Okay. But I thought that was so great that he could do this, and that's why I really pressed hard, and I was not going to take no as even if the powers above said, I don't think this thing. I don't care. This is what I'm doing.
Yes, thank you.
And this is what we're going to do, and they bought off on it, and we had developed this beautiful certificate, and the news crews came out that day, and we contacted Senator Murkowski's office and the Sullivan's office, and they sent gifts, and the governor had sent these proclamations, and he was the hero of the day, you know. So
Yes.
and his parents were there, and his mom was weeping. And
Yes. It was a very moving ceremony,
Yeah.
and perhaps when we post this interview, we can also post the link to the story.
Right.
Yes. Thank you for what you did, but also I'm very sorry for your
Okay.
loss. Very sorry. So I'm going to close this right now. You brought something to share with us today. Please tell us. You go for it. All right.
I don't know the complete history of this. This is as old as I am. All I remember is that it was in the house and it followed us everywhere we moved. It's showing its age a little bit, so you know it's getting close to 60 years old or over 60 years old. So, I asked my mother about it a couple times when I was very young, and and she said, "Well, this was given, I believe, given to her right when I was born, because being born on May 5th, all these special and great things were supposed to happen to your son."
First son.
Yes, first son, and all these great things, and and I think when I was around 16 or 17, my mom would say, "What happened? Well, when's it going to begin here? When are you going to become someone? You doctor yet? But I guess things worked out real well. But I don't know the full history. It was given to her, I believe, by her mother, my bachan, my grandmother, and she had and just kept it around the house. And then one day she told me, after I had moved out and was in the Coast Guard, when I was home visiting one time, and she just said, "It's time for you to take this with you."
Great.
Okay. And then I'll pass it down to the children and all that, but I don't know, like I say, it's been through some moves. It has gotten some minor damage through some of the moves, because you can't ship it like this. It does come apart. And it's pretty, I wouldn't say real fragile, but, this has always been a part of me ever since my entire life. So,
It's very special. Thank you for bringing
yeah,
this
and
today.
I'm sure somewhere in there's some secret area that talks about the artist or whoever, or,
Indeed.
like the samurai sword where the handle comes off, and the entire story is maybe there's something in there. I don't know.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this being a gift from your mother. And
Well, she did give it to me. She was given it. It was given to her because of me. Yeah, yeah. Grandparents give it, and so I'm not sure just because of the firstborn, or if it because it was May 5th, or a combination of the both. But it is definitely, thank goodness.
And I think that thing's the artist name, the front.
Uh-huh.
Here, yes,
Mhm.
yes. So I do have a question for you. As an adult, you mentioned going back to Japan and exploring your heritage and seeking out your family. And you mentioned to me recently that you had some revelations as an adult, thinking about how brave your mother was to marry. But can you please share with us what it was like for you to go to Japan, to look for family, and your revelations?
Well, I'll tell you. I'm sorry. I'll make a correction.
Please.
I never went to look for family.
Yes.
My son Rayburn, who passed away, he was the one, because Harada-san knows reference, and he wanted to go to Japan and hire a private detective because he had enough information. You know, her family's name is Miyada. Mother's name, my grandmother's name was Mio, I believe, and I didn't know. I think my grandfather had died before I was born. However, I know that many Japanese women married Americans after the war because there was nothing left in Japan. And so my mother marrying a American soldier, shall we say too soon after World War II, did not please Dad too much. So the story pretty much goes like this. That Dad is so upset, he goes down to whatever the prefecture city hall and has her taken off the koseki. Take my daughter's name off. The family registry. She's off. And that's playing hardball. Her mother, you know, the blessing was the mother, because she needed to have koseki, and so she needed to have her family registry. Mother went and created a new one, but only with the mother's name on it and the daughter's name, her name. We still have that. I don't have it with me. We still have the original. And when I had to take it to the council here, because her passport expired and A card expired, everything. She was stateless. She never naturalized. Yeah. She had nothing to go home to. Oh. She never returned to Japan.
Your mother never returned?
She never returned. When we came back after the second time, she never went back. There were no phone calls. There were no letters. She was not a part of the family anymore.
Oh my!
Nothing.
That's a huge sacrifice.
They really,
yes.
And when I tried to speak to her occasionally about it, that conversation would probably last about 30 seconds, and then she would, no.
Yes.
I do not want to go down that road.
Yes.
So that's why I don't know a whole lot about my mother's side.
So now your son Callum, he is interested in going to Japan, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Tell us about his ideas.
Well, he got very excited, especially after his brother passed away. His brother was very much into Japanese and did it at Diamond and also did it here. And wanted to do it to more honor his brother and his bachan, his grandmother. And now, we went over there on a trip through I had been there before with the Coast Guard and doing some jobs, but this is my first time that I'm going to go there as an actual tourist.
Yes.
Okay. And not work during the day.
Yes.
So
where did you go?
We landed in Narita, then we did some Tokyo Times, and Hokani. Okay, is that right? Hakone, all right. And then from there we kept going down, and Kyoto, and Hiroshima, Osaka, Nara. It was a pretty whirlwind trip. We were busy, and having Nara was great. Those deer.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yes, indeed.
That was fun.
Yes.
And getting to experience a lot. But he was very much. He was sad that I was there, and I was, because Rayburn was supposed to be with us on this trip, and Rayburn never went to Japan. Oh. I'll go ahead and say this, but he's there now, because I took some of him with me, and I was so frightened. Man, how am I going to get this through customs? Special tea. I don't know. It's real Earl Grey tea. I don't know what I would do. But they were very nice because I was speaking a little Japanese to them, and going through, I made it. So my son is probably in no less than about 50 locations throughout Japan, through temple shrines and whatever, with them. So I did that, and but I know in this one summer I've got to go and I have to take him up to Fujisan, and I'm sure everybody does that. There's probably ashes of many people. So, but you're right. That was, and he now wants to go live there. He works at the my son Caleb works at the Anchor School District. He is a teacher's assistant in special ed. He loves special education. The more serious, the better. He wants to try to be able to go over there, either in the JET program or what they call the ALT program, or even if he can find a way to get over there as a teacher's assistant, and maybe to work and live there. But he wants to work with special education over there, which was when we were visiting Japan last year. It was the handicapped people were far and in between. We didn't see them like you see them here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In some societies, there's still a tendency to have them away from
Yes.
the public eye. Yes. So maybe he can go and make a difference. In that
I
regard.
hope so.
Yes.
He really wants to do it, and we got to
Yes.
figure out a way to do it. Because he's
It's a very noble mission.
yeah, he wants to.
Yes.
He is.
Yes.
He's doing. I'm blessing because I tell you, I couldn't do that all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I wish him the very
Yeah.
best. So
Absolutely.
now I think might be a good time to open this floor up for questions
Okay,
from
you
our
would like to
audience.
do this? I don't know if you want to
Yes.
start.
There we go. All right. And so just wondering if anyone in our audience today has any specific questions for George?
So I have a question.
Sure.
So it's great to have you in the Japan-Alaska Association, celebrating culture with us here. I'm wondering if you have any traditions or things that you shared about Japanese culture with your sons that, like, you have tried to carry on from your childhood?
Without bachan, it's tough to cook, But the food,
Yes.
that mommy food, but the food. I do cook some things that the kids love when I make some kind of a nabe or a sukiyaki. And okonomiyaki, Osaka style.
Yes.
Okay. Or get misos and all this, and to try to teach them some customs about things. But I don't know enough. Probably I just lost so much. The older I'm getting, the more I want to get back in touch with the heritage in a more deeper and spiritual meaning. And playing with the language all my life, it wasn't until later in my life where I decided, okay, I'm going to take college Japanese. It's about 8 or 9 years, whatever university I'm close to, I'll go and take a year of Japanese. It's always 101, 102, and then 8 years ago passed. Well, it's time again, so another 101, 102, and 101, 102, all over again. So, and but without immersion, I tell you, it's difficult. It's difficult. So, one of the things that I do, I'm still pretty physically active, and one of the things that I remember my mom talking to me one time, because even she never. You hear people on their birthdays, they take the day off for something. My mother never took the day off. She said that you don't take, and I don't know what, if it's Eastern culture, Shinto, or Buddhist, you still go to work on your birthday. If it's a weekend, you still do work on a weekend. You go, for me, I'll go to the gym and I'll have a really hard workout on your birthday. And you do cut the grass, you do this, and you work. There's plenty of time to go out and get pampered that evening. But you work hard physically, and then you just are thankful that another year has passed and you're still able to do the same thing. And I preach that or tell that to my cadets too. You know, don't take your birthdays off. Okay, there's plenty of time to get pampered. But anybody, gosh, now we're looking at 2 weeks from now. So I was like, hey, anybody going to be with me on May 5th? We're going to we're going to be at the gym. It'll be a
Great.
tough one.
Great.
So,
Very good.
yeah.
Further questions from our audience?
Yeah, I saw your son, and my question is, have you successfully met your wife's family in Japan and can communication?
My
Understand communication, and are you going to?
my mother's family,
Your mother. Yeah.
Yes.
nothing. I know.
Find out.
I don't know where to start. And I know Ancestry.com, I looked in there ain't nothing going on over there. Ancestry.com is great for anything if you have European roots, okay? But there ain't nothing coming from the other side. And I'm not sure where you would go to start
She
that
didn't
off.
have a brother or sister?
Had a brother. I can't remember the name. I do have the name. He was an insurance salesman in Tokyo. My mother said that she did receive and see, this is unbeknownst to me, that she received a letter from his wife, said that he had passed away. So I have a feeling that every time we moved, there was at least one letter sent out, communication, this is where I live now. But there were never any phone calls. Never any continuous letters or messages. And I remember seeing her passport one time, it expired. She couldn't go anywhere. We had to go through and get her new A card, I remember, through immigration. She was already 80 years old at the time. And I remember taking the Koseki up to the family registry, up to the council here, and he was looking at it. And said, wow, we don't use this kanji anymore, That is old kanji. But we got that all taken care of, and we got her a new Koseki. And we got everything done, and Ogawa-san helped us out, so we got that taken care of. But my son that passed away, he really wanted to go over there and find some relatives. I know we have them, but I don't know what we share. Well, we could share some photos and all that, I guess, and that would be good. I think that I'd like to do that. I know I don't know how to do that right now, besides hiring a private detective over there or something. I don't know what's online. Is there a Japanese version of Ancestry? I don't know. But
Your mother is still surviving?
no, she passed away.
Oh,
Okay.
Which prefecture she was born?
Well, she was born in Kobe.
Kobe,
Kobe.
city or Kobe?
In Kobe. She met my mother. Somehow my mother made it down to where he was stationed in Beppu. Yeah, and down in Beppu, and they were, the one picture of them together, when he had come back from Korea, one time they got a picture taken, and one of the nicest pictures I've seen that I have, and I cherish that one a lot. But Beppu, and then outside of, I think Saitama Prefecture outside of Tokyo, Saitama, yeah, and there, and up in Tokyo. So that's where I was born, and he was stationed at Camp Zama also. Okay, so we were close to there. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay, this is a mischievous story. Okay, I don't know, just thinking about this. Yeah, boy. And this is second time in Japan. Maybe 4 years old. Oh, this is horrible. I don't know how to tell you this. Me and some friends, we went into a cemetery and we started knocking over gravestones.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. And did the pillars. Oh, and the priest came out and he was not pleased. The police came, my mother came, and she had to pay a fine. And then my friends and I, we were laughing as we were picking up this grave markers and oh gosh, it's so embarrassing to even think that I did that. That was terrible.
Typical boy.
I don't know. You don't go around knocking over gravestones.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. Probably went in there looking for fresh rice to eat. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, here's one.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but I don't know. I just remember that. Story. God, that was bad. And I vividly remember that. And my mother talking to the policeman, and she had to pay a fine and all this. I believe then my father, when Hirohito was made emperor, I believe 59, maybe. No, not Hirohito. After Hirohito, somebody was made emperor, or a wedding or something. I don't know, 58, 59, and my father had bought a small black and white television. And because we were the only ones that had a television, I remember, and everybody had kind of come into the house. The house was packed and making all so much noise. And my dad was saying, "Yeah, you were crying all the time because everybody was there watching I can't remember what it was, a marriage maybe, but it was a big deal. But my mother and I do remember this. We would take our baths, and it would be the round bathtub that we'd be in. I hated when she would clean me with that rag. And she would just, skin was coming off. Can we just get some soap, And she rubbed real hard, and the skin, I hated her doing that. We'd take baths together, and I remember, and then we had, for our toilet was just almost like an outhouse, and I remember the truck would come by and suck out all the human waste. We had one little hot plate.
Yep. And you slept on futons every night?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it was real, I remember, those were some of the things that I do remember that. I remember taking the baths with my mother. I remember, because, I don't know if it was an outhouse, but, or it might have been connected with the house, I don't know. But it was just, and the truck would come, pick it up, run by, remember that. And then going to the bathhouses too. Bathhouses are, I'm not sure how popular they still are now, for you. And to me, it was like a big swimming pool, So being there with my mom, and we'd go there and have our pans and wash up. And even then, my mom would still just rub you raw. Man, I hated bath time. It's just so painful.
Yes. So what a transition moving from Japan to Germany.
It was.
Yes.
It was. I don't know. Sometimes I don't remember as much about Germany as I do Japan. That we weren't there really that long.
Yes.
Not long, maybe a year and a half or so. But I just knew that things weren't working out in school there for too long. Teachers were like,
Well, you certainly have had an interesting life.
Well, it finally came to fruition, I guess. And I would, if you would have looked at me when I was 16, 17 years old, and I said, look, I'm gonna, in your mid-50s, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be an airborne ranger. You're going to do airborne school, HALO school, special operations schools. You will have reached NCO rank. You're also going to get your degree. You're going to go to Officer Candidate School. You become a senior ranking Coast Guard officer, and then you're going to get your master's degree. And for me, a master's degree. I was not the brightest kid in high school. With a 2.6 or 2.7 GPA, nobody was going to throw money at me to go to school. So that was one reason I joined the Army, is just I got to use their GI Bill. But I would have been in shock and awe if somebody would have said, these are the things that are ahead of you. Really.
Some great accomplishments. Yes.
Well, everybody's got their own little. What is success to me may not be to others, but people look at, especially my cadets, looking at me like, wow, you've really done a lot.
Yes.
Just kind of kept moving. I couldn't go through the front door. I knew I wanted to become an officer, but I couldn't go through the front door. No academies or TC scholarships, so I just had to stay focused.
Yes. A lot of hard work.
I was 30 years old going through Officer Candidate School. So,
Yes, indeed.
and 17 weeks with the Coast Guard. That's the longest Officer Candidate School there is. 17 weeks. Got it through it, and it wasn't so bad. After being a ranger in the Coast Guard, it was lots of academic stuff, but when it comes to physical stuff, I was probably came there in better physical shape when I left. Because they did not push the physical fitness side as heavily as when I was dealing with special operations.
Yes, indeed. So shall we take one more question from the audience? Would anybody? Oh, yes, Erica, please.
Well, I can't help make the comparison between the doll that you have cherished and you, and it's really amazing. I think your ancestors, your grandmother knew that you were going to become the person that you have become. You look at the doll as a daimyo, the highest ranking, and embodies all the ideals of Bushido and what it means to be, honorable and hardworking and, and humble, as you were able to share so many stories. And I wonder if subconsciously even somehow the existence, and when you would look at that sometimes it had influenced you, because it seems like if I were to think of a symbol for you, I feel like the soul is shared so.
Well, I will say that every time I look at it, there's just something. There's just something, Sometimes I feel he had his act together more than I ever did, because he looked so confident and all that, and and in college here I am in a McDonald's working, and one summer, said, you'd never work at a McDonald's, would you? So, but that's I just hope, that the older I'm getting, the more I want to find out about things. This guy here, I'll find out a little bit more about him if I can. But he will be passed down. My Rayburn was all excited that he was going to get this, firstborn child. I'm going to give it to him. So, all right, so we'll give it to my secondborn child. So it doesn't matter. As long as it gets passed down, and the story of where it started and such things has just got to stay. So hopefully centuries from now, I just got to find another I remember taking this apart the first time. It was difficult putting that together. Because there's nothing holding it together besides just gravity. So, yeah.
It's quite special. And thank you, Erica, for
Yeah,
the way
that,
that you expressed that. That was very
Yeah.
beautiful. So now, before we end, I would like to express our gratitude for the Montgomery-Dixon Center for Japanese Language and Culture, and also thank the supporters and partners, the Alaska Association of Teachers of Japanese, the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute, Alaska Travel Industry Association, Anchorage Japanese School, ASD Japanese Immersion Program, Japanese Program, Tomo no Kai, and World Languages Program. I'd like to thank Chitose City, Hokkaido, our sister city, the Consular Office of Japan in Anchorage, Embassy of Japan in the USA, Embassy of the USA in Tokyo, Japan, Hokkaido University of Education, Iwate University, Japan-Alaska Association, the Japan Foundation, the Center for Global Partnership, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, the Municipality of Anchorage and the Sister Cities Commission, NHK Broadcasting, Nippon Hoso Kyokai, Rasmussen Foundation, Rikuzen Takata City, Iwate, Japan, Senator Lisa Murkowski, Sumitomo Metal Mining, Pogo LLC, Tomodachi Daiko, and the World Trade Center, Anchorage. Thank you all for your support. And may we end with a round of applause for Commander TOLBERT.